All right, Keith, let's kick it off with Everton. The Athletic is reporting that Dan Friedkin is considering extending the new stadium capacity. Is this really positive news for Everton? We've spoken about this quite a bit.
Yeah, look, I think we've got to take these sort of reports with a little pinch of salt. It's a fantastic new stadium. I don't think we're talking about doing anything immediately. I mean, we're almost finished in terms of the build at the moment, and we're looking to get the club in there. In fact, the build should be finished by Christmas, and then the club will be in there for test events and different things with opening next season. I think if there was to be a review of potential increases, it would come maybe after 5 years, I think, when they'd actually review the whole revenue situation. There's a lot to think about. I mean, I've been in this situation before when you have to make a decision about capacity. It isn't easy, but also there is a thing about scarcity value that does keep the whole situation in terms of revenue at the top level. So there's a lot of things to consider. I do believe, though, that we should be looking at over 60,000 at some stage. And I think there are potential architectural moves that could make that happen. And so, look, it's an exciting thing to consider. And it's great news that they're looking at things like this already. But I don't think it's going to be in the short term. And I think we'll have a number of years in Bramley Moor as it stands today before there's any sort of any big moves.
And how could he go about doing this when the project is so far along? Is this just a matter of adding like standing room instead of seats, or how would one do that?
No, I think we're actually talking about big structural development on one side of the dock because the actual site is constrained in terms of the size because it is an old dock, and so you've got limited scope on certain sides. It's something that's going to have to be considered. I know that Dan Mice, the architect, has said that those discussions were taking place before, that so the things have been considered. I don't know the exact detail of how they're going to do it, but I think it would be a pretty major structural development. But we've got to see what plans there are and what thought has been put into expansion. That'll be the key to it as to what's potentially being built into the plans as they are today.
And should Everton fans be worried that Dan Friedkin wants to be overly involved in every decision, or come in and kind of change everything up and do it his way, or that's good news to have an owner who is so heavily involved from such an early stage?
No, it's great news. It's absolutely right that he should be looking under the bonnet and he should be checking every detail about the club and understanding it fully. I think that's great news that there's concerned owners that are looking to the future, and this is all very positive news as far as I'm concerned.
And Dan Friedkin is thinking of selling a percentage of Roma to some Middle Eastern investors. What could this mean for Everton?
Well, we've been talking about this for quite a few weeks now, haven't we, in terms of the potential of Arab interest coming in. It's been discussed a number of times about these rumours around Roma. They've been blowing hot and cold, I think, for over about 18 months now. It does seem to be that there is a move to sell at least a minority stake of something like 30% is what I've been told. And I think in the end that would probably mean, and I'm really going in the dark here, but it could mean that Friedkin is looking longer term to put all his eggs in the Everton basket. That's certainly what would indicate if we were to extrapolate it that way. And I'd be very excited if that was the case. Look, while Roma and Everton can help each other, there is potentially that conflict under UEFA rules of having the same owner. There's no conflict as yet because certainly Everton is not qualifying for European competitions at the moment, but hopefully in a couple of seasons it would be. So at some stage that'll have to be considered. But meanwhile, the two clubs can coexist very happily with some good synergy, work on youth programs together and scouting together. So look, there's a lot of benefits from both clubs, but if he was to put his eggs in one basket, I hope it's the Everton one.